Welcome to the Life You're Made For with me, Dr. Heather Penny. We're going to be having conversations that talk about us spiraling up versus spiraling down, because we all want to be living lives that are about thriving, not just surviving. This is the life you're made for. So let's get going. So I am so excited today to have one of my favorite people.
One of?
One of, because I got little guys in my life too. Not so little anymore. My husband, Darren Penny. And something we do every year is talk about our word for the year. And then at the end of the year, what we like to do is talk about what that word has taught us. So we were just sitting there over a latte the other morning, and I asked the question, "Hey, Darren, what did your word teach you for the year?" And as we started talking, I said, "I totally want to have you on my podcast." So, Darren, I'm going to interview you today because I just loved our conversation, and I think our listeners will too. First of all, let's just, I guess before we jump in, let's tell everyone a little bit of what you do and who you are, and then we'll jump into the conversation for our word for the year.
Oh, sure. Well, first and foremost, married 30 years, 2 kids, 2 college-age kids, young adults. And I'm a consultant. I do consulting for nonprofits, specifically in the estate planning space. So that's my professional world. I have many, many other interests. Love being a dad, love the outdoors, that type of thing. So yeah, that's my life here in Northern California.
Yes, you do have many interests. I'm already thinking of pilot. Rock climbing, running, marathoning, everything. You're doing a marathon with our daughter here pretty soon. So you do have many, many interests. It's fun watching you live.
Thanks, hon. Mutual.
Okay, so let's jump in. What was your word for the year for 2023?
Yeah, my word, my focus last year, as I started in late 2022, thinking about the coming year, my word that I said, this is really what I want to focus on, is the word praxis. Kind of a funny word, praxis, Praxis. And it actually, it is the base meaning of that word is to put something into action or to put it into practice. Why did I come up with that? Or why was that the landing place? Because one of my strengths and weaknesses, both, is that I have a lot of ideas. I have tons of ideas, big ideas, visions. I mean, if I could do half of the ideas that I had, hopefully the good ideas, not the bad ones, if I did half, I mean, it would just be unbelievable. So if I just take some of my ideas, set some of the smaller ones aside, I could have just a half a dozen of things I'm really excited about. Visions, ideas, plans, everything from businesses to nonprofit ideas to missional things to projects. I just have so much. And so many of those things were sitting on the sidelines. And I just said, I just want to put some things into practice this year and stop thinking and ideating and visioning them and do them instead. So that was the genesis of the word praxis.
I love that.
Putting things in action.
I know I've loved your ideas because I go to you for ideas, and then I don't really have a problem implementing anything. You give me ideas and I go implement it. I run and go do it. But I do have a problem. Maybe problem is too strong of a word. I have an awareness that I need to pace myself on some of these ideas. So you utilizing the word praxis, in contrast, mine was for the year patience. And it just so defines our personality, doesn't it?
What I was laughing about was what I said is it just captures us, the essence of patience and practice. You slow your roll, let's let things play out, be patient. Me, you might want to move some of these ideas into reality. It's exactly us.
Yeah. And I think we've learned how to do a little bit more yin yang with each other over 30 years, because honestly, as someone who loves achieving and getting results, I have loved the permission that you've given me to slow down and to pace myself and maybe choose my top 3 projects for the year versus my top 50, which I do implement them all and then wonder why I'm burned out and exhausted and tired and probably cranky.
Well, and likewise, I mean, you've been the counter to me is I watch you and I see you put things into action, and we all have resistance, but I've seen you push through the resistance and into action, into a game plan, and into movement, into implementation. And darn if that's not inspiring. And it's helped frame what I want to be doing more of, quite frankly. Yeah.
Well, I think it's funny because a lot of why I am successful at what I do is I bring a lot of it to you. And I'm laughing because I'm thinking about how I'll say, okay, I need an idea for whatever, a podcast, or can you help me start a podcast? Or can you help me start my coaching company 15 years ago? I remember having that conversation. So the funny thing to me is you have been such a huge motivator for praxis for me. So the curious question I have for you, and I'm wondering if you have clarity around this, what do you think some of the blocks are for your own ability to motivate yourself and put things into practice?
Oh man, you're going right for the jugular, aren't you? Wow. You know, that as I look back over 23 and bringing praxis into the year for the year, if I'm honest about it, those same barriers and obstacles still existed, and I'm a little disappointed in my year still. I mean, honestly, even with praxis as the focus. So here we are at the end of last month, at the end of 2023. I was looking back and asking myself exactly that question, like, what was this word praxis about, and why still did I not get the traction I want on some projects? So your question is very timely, actually, and it's one I've asked myself and done significant thinking about in the last 30 days. So here's something I've learned about myself, and honestly a little bit embarrassing to even confess, because it's so trite and it's so cliche. You've probably even heard this quote, you and everybody else: the enemy of progress is perfection. The reason that is quotable is because it's so stinking true.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how many people can relate to that, but it certainly is my personality, that the enemy of my progress is my insistence upon some standard of perfection. Perfection in my idea, perfection in the supposed implementation of the idea, clarity around the end result. And I tell you what, I am absolutely convinced that was my primary obstacle into even more implementation of praxis, that I didn't move forward because I thought, I need to have this perfected first. I need to have the idea clear. I need to have all the subcontractors lined up, that type of thing. So working on that, quite frankly.
Okay, so what is it you always tell me when I try and line everything up for perfection?
Oh, wow. Looks like we're out of time, folks. Gotta go.
We are not out of time. We are just starting.
I have no idea what I tell you. What do I tell you?
When I try and wait till everything's perfect,
Yeah, I don't know.
what would you tell me?
What have I told you that before? I don't even know.
Oh, yeah. You're constantly saying, just jump in, take the journey, take it one step at a time, Head. Because my tendency is to want to have the whole blueprint and then follow the whole thing. The ironic thing, and it was actually the word that I had a love-hate for, was you started using the word organic. Just let it organically start to develop and see how it grows. Then you'll know what the next step is.
Mm-hmm.
Are you aware that that's a voice that you've had so strongly in my life?
I am not. That's interesting.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Where is it that you have seen yourself put things into praxis am I using that word right too? Praxis, put it into
Oh, yeah.
praxis.
Mhm,
Okay.
mhm.
What is it that you feel proud of yourself that you did put into praxis this year?
I think one of the areas where I thrive and I feel good about is my business. I have a very successful business, and I operate in my business space very, very well at a high level of professionalism. And my clients, I have only a small number of clients. I have less than 10 clients, but many of them are nationally known names that people would know that I can't name here. But everybody in America would know who my clients are. And I serve these organizations very, very well. And they could contract with anybody in the country, but they choose to work with me.
Mm.
And I tell you what, even saying that, I'm not even comfortable saying that because I feel very quiet and humble about my business. I like being successful, but I do not toot my own horn or draw attention to that in any way. I just like to humbly go about my work. But it does feel good. Back to your question, where have I been successful? In my business, in my business. And I enjoy that success. I love it. I smile and I'm proud of it. Just very
Hmm.
quiet, proud of it. Yeah.
What about more in your personal life? Where have you been successful?
Oh, I'm more critical of my personal life. I'm more critical of my self performance. I think I'm successful. I'm happy and successful with my level of health, and um, I'm happy and successful with being a husband and a father. I feel very clear that those have been areas I've focused on for many years. Have been so far from perfect, but I've worked hard at them,
Hmm.
and I can rest on. I haven't left anything on the table there. I'm all
Yeah.
in those areas. I'm
Yeah.
all in my family. I'm all in my business, and friendships. Boy, I've got some wonderful friends. A good group of men in my life that are dear friends, brothers.
Hmm.
And I could call probably half a dozen people today, and these guys would do anything for me. They'd meet me in a crisis. They'd jump in a foxhole with me, and I would trust them with my life. So I feel great about that. I mean, I think there's a many, many men, most men cannot say that. And
Hmm.
that's a tragedy, actually.
Yeah. I could definitely
Men,
vouch for that.
yeah, men and their inability to develop deep and meaningful friendships, not work relationships, but friendships
Hmm.
with, um, with, with their fellow brother and man. And boy, I love that part of my life. I actually take a lot of joy in that. These guys are great guys.
Okay, I can also think of one other area just because I live with you and I got to see you put things into practice this year. But
I've never been interviewed by someone who lives with me before. This is odd. I feel
it's
like I'm
wonderful.
naked on the screen or something. Like, oh,
I have
everything's
all the
exposed here.
power. But I'm just thinking of your health.
My health, yeah, yeah, yeah. I feel good about my health. I've been on a long-term health journey, training trajectory, and I thank you. I feel very good about that.
Yeah, leaner than I've ever probably known you to be, and enjoying working out and running, and um, just surpassing personal health goals.
Thanks.
So I'm kind of listening to all this, and I'm of course then my follow-up question is, well then, where is it that you feel like you didn't put something into practice? You used the word disappointment earlier, and I work with so many high achievers who are listening to this now, and I want to make sure that we talk about that. How realistic was some of these other goals? And also, of course, we want to have this really high self-awareness of telling ourselves the truth. So where is it that you're feeling like you didn't put something into praxis?
Wow. Yeah, that question hits close to home because, quite frankly, if I'm honest, I don't want to talk about it. I
Sure.
don't want to share it with you or anybody
That's fair.
because it feels like a failing. It feels like I've fallen short, so I don't want to talk about it. I think best practices are that probably needs to be pulled into the light. So here we go.
Yeah.
um, I have some passion projects, some things I want to do that are visions I have to make an impact. They are not for pay or compensation. They are merely to make the world a better place. Kind of altruistic, big vision ideas, things I want to pursue, build, and develop. That's where my hesitation has been. And that's where I've stalled. And I think I have a very strong suspicion a part of me has not moved forward because I want it to be perfect. And quite frankly, if there's an area I don't want to fail in, it's these passion projects. A couple of them in particular. I want them to launch and do well and to make an impact, to make a difference. So I think I would say the closer something like that is to my heart, and calling it a passion project should indicate it's pretty close to my heart. It's something I want to do. That's why I've been paralyzed and not moved forward. Even in my year of practice, I have not moved forward. Perfection has been the enemy of progress, and fear of failure probably right there alongside perfection.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, passion projects, boy, that's sacred ground.
Yeah.
And I know the painful sting of failing in a passion project. And you've seen
Oh,
me.
yeah.
You've seen me
Yeah.
fail. And again, you've been one of the critical voices in my life that says, this isn't failure. You got to
Yeah.
learn something that you didn't know yesterday.
Yeah.
Um, so I guess I want to go there. The self-talk is so critical to what we believe about ourselves and what we trust in ourselves and the journey and going after results and goals. What's some of the self-talk that has been revealed this year as you've engaged with the word praxis?
I think the self-talk, if I'm quite honest, is a little lie I tell myself.
Mm,
And the lie goes something like, I'm not ready to do that today. I probably need another month or so to think through that
mm,
and put some more clarity on it. And then I'll be ready to move forward. So
mm,
the self talk is delusional, quite frankly.
mm,
More abruptly, I'd say it's a lie. I lie to myself and say, I'll be ready to do that next month or whenever the postponed date is. Everything from, this afternoon, tomorrow, next week, next month, or next year. So what I think the elixir to that needs to be an urgency,
mm,
counter cry that says, no. I point to myself, no, you will do something today. You will not
mm,
put this into the bucket of tomorrow or next month. You will move forward today. And I think, you use the word self talk. That is such an important, critical, and beautiful question. How do we talk to ourselves? Is it a nurturing talk? Is it a disciplinary talk? Is it a parental talk? Is it a kind parental talk? Is it an abusive parental voice we have with ourselves? What is it? What is our self talk?
mhm.
So I'm going to write that down. I appreciate you even saying that word self talk because it's a big one. What is our self talk? I mean, very honestly, that was mine. What about you with yours? Do you want to talk about your self talk?
Oh, sure. Yeah, my word for the year was patience. And I did a podcast on it a couple weeks ago. You can listen to that. And it was just a solo podcast where I love talking about what my word taught me. But in a nutshell, patience taught me how to be kinder to myself and kinder to others. I didn't realize how much my impatience and probably my zeal to go after the results was hurting myself and probably other people as well, but I didn't realize how much it was hurting myself.
Mm.
And I think patience is a form of self-love. And I think I found myself saying, okay, you don't know what to do yet, and it's okay. Let's just slow this down and you get to be patient with the process. That
Mm.
was a new, I mean, you know me.
Mhm.
That's a new level of self-talk.
Mhm.
And what I'm learning with that word is patience is kind of an unsung superpower
Mhm.
that allows people to get a stronger sense of not just their clarity, but really their confidence in showing up in the world.
Mhm.
And in owning my own company, there's more questions that I have than answers. And I realized I had this growing anxiety as my audience was growing and my world was growing and my success was growing, is I didn't know how to keep up with it. Of course I don't. I've never been here before. And so my harsher self-talk was saying, you better get this right. You better hire the right people. You better, you better, you better, you better. Very shame self-talk. To be able to engage more of a self-talk with patience that says, well, Heath, you've never been here before. And isn't this an amazing opportunity? Things are growing, and every year it's a new level of success. And you get to decide how you want to steer this.
Right.
And you get to also decide when you need a break. I mean, the false belief was you got to keep up with it. No, I did
Mhm.
not start a company to keep up with the rat race. I started a company to enjoy myself, the gifts that I have, and the world that I want to engage with.
Mhm.
So with every season, I get to ask the question, what now? And how do I get to be patient with myself as I listen for new answers that I don't have yet?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what patience has taught me a lot of. And
You know, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
no, I think I'm done. Go ahead.
I was just thinking as you're talking, you have a very kind self-talk. Your self-talk that you just used and told us about was a kind voice. And I'm just curious, was it ever not kind, or where do you think you got that kind self-talk from? Because I know a lot of us have very harsh self-talk.
Do you not know me? You've known me for over 30 years. How hard have I been on myself? And how hard have I said, you've got to be perfect. You've got to keep up with the pack. You've got to be the best. You can't make mistakes. If I have any kind of self kindness talk right now, it's because of an intentionality to focus on it. More importantly, inviting in kind people to help me be kind to myself and not put
Mm.
myself on the rack, so to speak, and not making sure that I'm holding myself to a standard that is unrealistic and impossible. And you have been one of the most important voices in my life for that.
Mm.
And I think that if we're willing to tackle it and look at self-talk, and I love that you talked about, lying to yourself and delusional. I think harsh self-talk is another form of lying to yourself.
Mhm.
You're if you don't get your goals met, you're not terrible. If you don't know what's next, you're not a terrible leader. Or if you get it wrong and you hurt someone's feelings, it doesn't mean you're insensitive. These are all things I had to start telling myself to give myself the permission to learn and to grow.
Mm.
And as I began to do that, and fight for that, to be honest, I attracted the people in my life to join me in that. And the irony of all of this is, as I'm listening, I think some of my clarity is coming to me. I don't think we can do it alone.
Mhm.
I have had some of the harshest self-talk in my life, which led to anxiety and even depression in so many earlier years. And you've been one of the most kindest voices in my life to remind me it's going to be okay. And you get to let yourself off the hook. Okay, now let's problem solve. Let's troubleshoot.
Mm.
So I think it's twofold. If you want to grow your self-talk, you have to be willing to see what you're saying to yourself. And
Mm.
frankly, the lies, the harsh lies and delusion that we're living in, because a lot of this harsh self-talk is not reality. The second thing is you get to invite, and you got to invite voices in to support and grow a new self-talk that somehow went dormant.
Mhm. Mhm. It's interesting as we're having this conversation. I think our opening topic was the word of the year. And I think this is ending up to be a conversation about self-talk.
Mm,
And I think that's perfectly appropriate
hmm
because I don't know a person, no one comes to mind right now as I'm thinking about this, who naturally has a kind and generous and forgiving self-talk. I think our natural inclination is our self-talk is harsh, unforgiving, demanding, critical, and generally not helpful.
mm,
And maybe as we think about our coming year, no matter what our word is, you,
hmm
me, or anybody else who might be listening to this conversation, no matter what our year is, or our word for the year is, alongside that word for the year, as we take that journey with that word or with our friends or with our goals, maybe we can commit to having kind and generous and forgiving and encouraging self-talk. Wouldn't that be a gift?
Wouldn't that be a gift? And doesn't our world need more of that?
Wouldn't that be a gift? If I could talk to myself with more kindness, generosity, forgiveness, acceptance, encouragement. I'm just thinking out loud with you, and you know as well as I do, we didn't plan this conversation. I think that would revolutionize my year. I really do.
hmm I do
What
too.
a, what a different voice that would be that I'd be living with.
Right.
Wow.
That's what patience taught me.
Mm,
My self-talk gets to be kinder.
mm,
And I think when we hurry and we rush, it's like hands in our back.
yeah,
And that doesn't feel very kind, does it?
not in the least.
But patience to me has really revealed itself to be synonymous to kindness
Mm,
and kindness to others, and letting them not only feel confident in their journey, but safe and secure in their journey around me.
yeah,
That's so critical, whether it's in my professional world or my personal world with my kiddos or with my clients. I want everyone to feel this sense of, wow, when I talk with Heather, there's a patience there and there's a confidence
hmm
that the journey is right where it needs to be.
hmm
And I think there's this connection between kindness, patience, confidence that all is a beautiful trifecta.
hmm
And I think you're right. If we can hold on to that awareness and in our self-talk, no matter what word of the year you have, or
yeah,
what your goals are, your resolutions, or your action steps, or
yeah,
what results you want to have for your life, wouldn't it be nice if we were our best friend throughout the process? Just
yeah,
like we are to so many people that we love. You mentioned all your dear friends. You know, you would not talk to any of them the way you
that's
talk to
right.
yourself, right?
Yeah,
You're one of the go-to
100%.
people when they need encouragement. You've been one of my go-to person for when I needed encouragement. I know you've been that for the kids. I'm excited that you get to start being that more for yourself. I think that's exciting because I'm also seeing the fruits of that for me. And again, with all the high achievers I work with, all my fingers pointing back, boy, we could be hard on ourselves, can't we?
hmm We sure can.
You me-
Talking about this and this self-talk and the word patience that you had, one of the things that's dawning on me is if you take the same thing, I'm going to use a metaphor. If you encounter a rude driver on the road,
Mhm.
what's the number one thing behind their driving? It's usually hurry.
Yeah,
They're in
impatience,
a
right.
hurry.
Uh-huh.
They cut you off. They sped past you.
Yeah.
Whatever they did, it's usually motivated out of their desire to be ahead and to get
Mhm.
there faster. That just seems to be true of life. That when we speed through things and we live in a hurry, we're spinning off around us a vibe, an aura, a communication that's generally not going to be very kind.
Yeah.
It's going to be, hey, if you want to join the party, get out of the way or you're a problem. Or attach yourself to my bumper and I'm going to drag you behind me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I just love that patience has this synonymous, creates this ecosystem, this environment of kindness and comfortability and fostering this organic environment of good things.
Mm.
And hurry and acceleration tends to bring many of the different things. And there certainly is a time for urgency in life. I'm not saying that. But living in that constant state tends to not be good for our hearts and the hearts of those around us.
I love that you use the word ecosystem. I guess that would be my question too. What's the ecosystem you want to create around 2024?
Yeah, well, I love that word too. Um, as I go into 24, I think I'm breaking a pattern. I've always just had one word for the year.
Mm.
My thought as I approach 2024, and now we're in it, and I have a planner here, and the way I'm actually planning for 2024, and the way I'm addressing praxis, the year after praxis, is embracing imperfection. I'm
Mm.
going to be embracing imperfection in order to not be imperfect, but in order to make progress. I'm embracing imperfection. So I have three words. My focus for the year, I'm saying, is imperfectly beautiful progress.
Mm.
Perfectly beautiful progress. And I like those words and I like them in that order. Starting with imperfection, just saying, hey, it's going to be imperfect, but it's going to be an attempt and it's going to be moving in the right direction. And that is to be celebrated. That is beautiful. And ultimately, it's progress,
Mm.
imperfectly beautiful progress. So that's my focus for 2024. And I tell you what, I don't think I've ever been more excited about a focus for a year than I am about this coming year.
Oh, I love that.
If I can embrace the concept and at a head and a heart level of imperfectly beautiful progress, boy, there are going to be some exciting things ahead for me. And
Mm.
I'm
Oh, I'm
very excited
excited.
about that. Very
I'm
motivated.
excited. I got a front row seat to it.
You sure do. Thanks for your
So, how important are relationships to your ecosystem around imperfectly beautiful progress?
I think the relationships, all number of relationships, are mission critical.
Mm.
And again, we've heard that quote: "Nothing you do significantly is going to be done alone."
Mm.
They tend to be good things tend to be done with a community or a fellowship of the ring type of a concept.
Mm.
5 or 6 people around you, or sometimes an army around you.
Mm-hmm.
It just tends to be that good things require more than one person, one mind, one person's energy. So it's my hope that the people that I go with on my journey through 2024, I just want everyone to know the value that they bring to my life, to whatever it is we're working on, whether it's a very important project, a very critical project, or something very casual.
Mm.
So a number of things. But I'd say
Mm.
relationships are mission critical. We can't do it alone.
I love that.
Another reason I think is that our relationships are a check in us. We can go off on
Mm-hmm.
our own and we can run at 120 miles an hour and run over people.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really a relationship if they don't call us on it. If
Mm-hmm.
they don't hold a mirror up to us and help us see, oh my, I am running. And that's how we realize I need to do some things different. I need a word like
Mm-hmm.
praxis. I need a word like patience. I need to
Mm-hmm.
change things. I need to grow. So close relationships are a very important mirror that helps us accurately see ourselves. And if we don't accurately know our impact on those around us, that's not a good thing
Mm.
at all.
That's good. You mentioned the word resistance earlier too, and it sounds like you've got some strong awareness around that um, kind of experience of resistance. And I guess I would ask, do you have a plan for how you want to overcome the resistance, or are you kind of still noodling on it? Or what's your thoughts around being prepared for grappling with resistance over 2024?
Yeah. Oh, I do have a plan. Boy, do I have a plan. I can tell you this too. Um, I have the best plan I've had in any year of my lifetime for this coming year.
Really?
I do.
Mm,
I have my entire 2024 work calendar
mm,
on paper. Every one of my clients knows which days I'll be with them for the entire year. And that's not all that uncommon. I've been doing that for several years. Um, I have a book and I keep prolific notes on my focus for the year, what I'm doing, what I'll be doing in various areas. As I plan for the year, I have different categories. In fact, I'll bring up some of the categories I work with. The categories I focused on to break through resistance. I have clarity of goals and actions in categories of body, mind, spirit, work, passion projects, family, friends, and financial.
mm,
And another side group of that are some more of the fun things. I have categories for recreation, guitar, beauty, fly fishing, hiking, and poetry.
mm,
So that's where I find myself getting recharged a lot in those areas. I have steps in every one of those areas. So that's how detailed I've been.
mm,
I have a calendar behind me that I'm planning to know if I'm not on a work day, what kind of a day is it? Is it a
mm.
recreation day, a heart day, a relationship day, a family day? What is it? Yes, for me, organization. I'm organized to a higher degree than I've ever been. And I'm planning on that organization really being an important tool for me.
Mm,
I think it's one of the things that resistance has won over some of my days in the previous year because I didn't have a plan that day.
mm.
No more. Boy, 24 is penciled out, and I could not be more excited about it.
Okay, so it's January, and this is usually where we have a lot of enthusiasm for our resolutions, our goals, our word for the year, our vision boards. I just did a vision board workshop and had so much fun with my girlfriends with all of that. Um, what happens somewhere around April 11th?
Mhm.
What do you do then when some of this starts fizzling? What's your thoughts around keeping the energy at a consistent pace that fits you for the duration of the year?
Yeah, for me, energy's never been an issue. I mean, I think I have a consistent energy,
Mm,
but I think for me, it's going to be being a truth teller to myself,
mm,
speak the truth to myself.
I
On
love
April
that.
11th, assess where I am and say, how did I do?
Hmm.
How have we done in the first quarter of 2024? Look
Hmm.
at January through March. How was it? Did we achieve what we put on that calendar? Did all the organizations serve us or not? And if not, you troubleshoot and say why. It's the same approach that a team has. If they're in a game and they go into the halftime locker room and they don't have the lead they expected to have, they start saying why. What happened that's different from our game plan? How do we need to adapt? And the ability to adapt our game plans, whether it's in our year or our day, is mission critical. We've got to adapt. And again, it goes back to your question on friendships, relationships. We need to have some people who can help us assess that too. Do you see something I'm doing that's undermining my success?
Mm,
That's an important question. And
mm,
what could I be doing different, you think, to change some of the patterns I've had this last year, to change the outcome that I don't want to have more of?
mm.
Whether I ask you or a friend or a colleague that question, I think those are very important questions. So, yeah, speaking the truth, doing an assessment, regrouping, and coming out of the locker room at halftime with a different, improved, and improvised second half game plan.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that thought. So you're keeping a pulse on it throughout the year. If we're going to go with the metaphor of football or so, you're having those huddles, right? You're checking in with the rest of your team. You're not just running the ball up and down the field by yourself. You're saying, which play are we going to do? Which one is actually getting us success and traction? And who's going to take the ball from here? And you being, of course, the captain of your own team, so to speak, of like, how am I giving the direction, the vision that I need for the people that's working with me, or even just for myself? How is this working? I like that thought of being able to stop and keep a pulse on it so that you can keep the momentum going, the energy going, the use the word excitement earlier.
Mhm.
It's usually, what do the studies show? Somewhere around, I don't know,
Mhm.
January 18th, the excitement has already got out of the sales for
Yeah.
resolutions around the world.
Yeah.
And there's
All
even
those
this,
gym memberships that people bought on January 1st. Like,
yes,
I think I'm going to
yes,
go again.
yeah. Or you're really good and you're eating for January 1 through maybe January 5, and the January 6th, you're just right back at it again. So I like this idea of this pacing. And I think as you're talking, it makes me think about your permission that you're giving yourself to not be perfect.
Mhm.
Isn't that going to really participate in how you pace yourself for the year, and who you invite into that pacing, and who is going to help you with the pacing, and when you do it solo and when you do it on your own? Man, there's so many questions around how the journey gets to look for the year.
Mhm.
And I'm always rooting for you, but I'm excited. I'm excited to be in
Oh,
this front row seat with you, Dare.
thanks. Thanks. The other thing, Heather, and I can make this the last thing I say, really, I'm excited about it. And I think things do need to be assessed. But there's that, and this is a pesky word, you hear a lot of it, but it absolutely, every vision, every goal, every dream, everything we want to attain, what's between us and that happening is going to be discipline. Will
Mm,
I do it? Will I execute? Will I get out of bed and go do that hard thing? Discipline is key. And I kind of even hate to say that, because there's so many big disciplined voices and embrace the hard voices out there right now, like David
mhm,
Goggins, and hey, you don't want to run, then get up and run a marathon. Get
mhm,
up and run 100 miles. Just embrace it. Be kind to yourself, but embrace that discipline is required in this.
mhm.
And we will not drift into achievement. It must be attained through discipline. And if you like me, don't don't settle for the promise I'm going to do it next month. I need more clarity to thought about it. No, do it. Do it. That's where I'm at. I'm speaking to myself. Do it.
Right. Yeah, you're right on. It makes me think, I just got off the phone with a client, and we were both just talking about really the pain around personal growth.
Mhm.
And I asked a poignant question, and she laughed. She goes, I really don't want to answer it. And I laughed, fair enough. You don't have to. Like, it's so uncomfortable to have to address some of these delusions and self-talk and some of these lies that we're saying to ourselves. And I
Yeah.
think one of the things I heard myself say, and I say this quite a bit in my work, is everybody wants breakthrough
Mhm.
until they have to go through the
Mhm.
cost
Yeah.
of what breakthrough requires.
Yes.
We all want that mountaintop experience, or to own our own company, or to whatever, get into that relationship that we want, or to travel, or whatever our life goals are. We all want that, but it's that reconciling what the cost is going to be to get there, the discipline around it, the self-talk around it, the people you invite in. There's just a myriad of things to really honor the process of getting to where you want to go in life.
Yeah.
And there's a cost to it too. And I think you get to hold that tension of enjoying your life and going for it, but recognizing that if you want to get to a new place and a new space, it's going to require a little bit of uncomfortableness, isn't it?
It absolutely will. And we will pay for it. One way or another, we will pay. If there are things we want to accomplish, I've heard this said, you will either pay with discipline today to get it done, or you will pay with regret tomorrow.
Mm. Wow, that's profound.
Discipline is the price that my today self pays in order that my tomorrow self or my future self doesn't pay the toll in regret. I don't want to pay through regret. And I want to pay today with discipline.
That's good. And it sounds like that's a little bit what you're grappling with at the end of 2023, isn't it?
Oh,
so you have some things you're excited about and you're proud of, but there's some things that you hold a little bit of regret about. And you're like, I'm done regretting this. 2024 is going to look different.
Yeah. It's like looking at a credit card balance you ran up and go, how did I get that? Well, I'm going to pay that off. Mm-hmm. I'm going to regret that I spent that money in the first place, but I'm going to pay it off and it's going to be different. This year will be different. Get it paid off. Pay today in discipline rather than tomorrow in regret.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, here's one of the questions I like to leave our listeners with. What's your morning rituals?
Ooh, my morning rituals. I have several. My favorite mornings, I start with I love my espresso machine. Let's
yes,
just start there. I do. I love my espresso machine.
And so do all our guests.
Yeah, 9 days out of 10, I'm making myself an almond milk latte, and I love that. I start there. I have a couple places in the morning I like to sit. I have several things I like to write in, some books. Like to read a little bit. In my best mornings, I start with a little writing and a little bit of reading. It doesn't happen every morning, but those are my best mornings. That starts me in the proper way. Sometimes I have an early client and they roll out and hit the ground running, but yeah, something's missing on those days when I do that. So those are my morning routines. Somewhere in the day, if it's summertime, my morning routine involves exercise. If it's the wintertime, I get out and exercise later when it gets a little warmer. What am I talking about? I live in California. I can exercise.
It gets a little nippy up here, though, doesn't it, Northern Cal?
Yeah, we have some days in the 40s, man.
Yeah, I've actually got to put on a hat and gloves.
So yeah, it's a little bit of self-care, mind, heart. That's where I start my mornings.
I love that. I love that. I love asking that to people just because going back to your statement, if you want the life that you're made for and you're willing to pay the cost, it's usually around how we start our day that I'm seeing success happens.
Oh, yeah.
And I stopped asking, hey, do you do anything to prepare yourself for the day with my listeners? I just go ahead and make the assumptive close and realize the people that are living the life that they want to be living and are going after it, they start their day differently than the average person.
Yeah.
And so now that just intrigues me. I love hearing what that day looks like. And some are very like, it's the same thing every day. Some are much more creative. Sometimes it's just 15 minutes. Sometimes it's a couple hours. I just never know what I'm going to get, but it's just fascinating to hear that. And I've learned a lot just watching how people start their day, because I believe how they start their day helps them achieve the goals that they really want out of their life and really go after that life. Because to your point earlier, you don't drift into the life you're made for, do you?
No. That's the beauty of the day. I mean, it's just amazing that we have this 24-hour cycle that we live on. Yeah. And every 24 hours, we get a new one. We get a new start.
Yes.
So it's beautiful that is a gift every morning to have a sunrise, and a freshness, a fresh mind after a night of sleep and dreaming, hopefully. And then, boom, what am I going to do first thing? How do I invest? Grab a glass of water, drink a glass of water, sit down, do some reading, have some coffee, start our days intentionally. Boy, you're right. Everyone starts their day somehow. I love the way mine starts.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, thank you for being on my show. One of my favorite peeps. And I'm going to be rooting for you for 2024. In fact, we'll have you on the show at the end of this year to tell us how imperfectly beautiful progress went for you. And I'm already excited for that.
Down. I'm in trouble.
Oh yeah, I wrote it down. All right, friends. Thanks for joining us today. Happy 2024. We are cheering you on, aren't we, Dare?
Absolutely. Cheering everybody on. Go for it.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. We had such a great time today. And obviously, we are all stepping into this life that we're made for. But isn't it nice to have a little bit of support along the way? If you want to find out more about the life that you're made for, come find me at heatherpenny.com. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a review. That really helps us out and helps spread the word. You get to step into the life that you're made for. Cheering you on.